Hello everyone, it's me, Clayton. I just finished watching The Old Guard, directed by Gina Prince Bythewood and written by Greg Rucka, who is also the man who wrote the comic series The Old Guard that this movie is based off of. So I think in recent times, Netflix movies have gotten better and better when it comes to giving us big screen experiences, but instead having us stay at home to watch them, which has become very helpful in these times of the coronavirus. And with this film, it essentially gives us a mid-budget superhero movie that lets Charlize Theron play to her strengths, albeit not without a few flaws along the way. Let's get to them, shall we? The story is about a group of immortal warriors led by Andy, played by Charlize Theron. These immortal warriors have protected the world in various ways, and since they can't be killed and have lived for hundreds of years, they're starting to have feelings that some parts of the world aren't worth saving, and they've gone through tons of grief and misery together. But when a new recruit, a young Marine named Niall, happens to come into their sights, Charlize Theron, as Andy, has to show her the ropes of what it takes to be in the Old Guard, while an eccentric billionaire pharmacist company CEO, played by Dudley from Harry Potter, tries to capture them to make use of their immortality to essentially save the world in his own way through his pharmaceutical drugs. So, the film basically happens to combine John Wick style action with a typical villain tries to save the world by exploiting the hero's plot. It's something you've seen in comic books and movies before, but Charlize Theron is easily the best part of the film, as Charlize, of course, happens to deliver the action scenes very well, with tons of great stunt work and lots of great physicality and blood effects. Plus, her acting is great, too. Anyone who's seen her as Furiosa in Mad Max knows she can deliver the tough girl persona very well, and she does that extremely well here. On top of that, the Kiki Lane, who plays Niall, happens to do a great job with her role too. She sort of plays an audience surrogate character since she's the new one to the team, therefore she's the one who gets to ask all the questions that lead to the exposition of the movie, but none of it feels forced considering that obviously she wouldn't know anything about this, so it's a great way for us to get information about these characters. And the other members of the Old Guard, Nick, Booker, and Joe, they happen to do well in their supporting roles, and they do have good chemistry with Andy and Niall. So, two of them are away from the team for a good long while in the second act, but even they get some personality in throughout. But there are some flaws that keep the film from being a complete win. First of all, the villain, Stephen Merchant, I think, doesn't really work as a villain. I do think Dudley from Harry Potter does do his best with the role, but he's just portrayed in a very cartoonish manner. And he might be that way in the comics too, I don't know, but it just doesn't work when it comes to a film that takes a lot of its scenes so seriously. In fact, I do think it might have been able to use a bit more comedy to lighten up some of the proceedings. Not to say that the film doesn't use its dramatic scenes well, it does. But like with how the Marvel films have some levity with their scenes, I think that the film could have benefited from using some of them. Thankfully, the action scenes and the heartwarming relationship between Niall and Andy and how Andy starts to have faith in humanity again does help with that. Also, some of the action scenes really do feel like they're done with an overabundance of shaky cam and zoom-ins, making the action not as easy to follow as it is, say, in the John Wick films. That's not to say, it's not like an early 2000s movie where you can't even tell what's going on half the time, but I do wish the action let us see the things as they were, and they let us actually see the blows more often. It's not terrible, but I get the feeling that Gina Prince Bythewood isn't exactly the best action director. Considering she's only made dramas beforehand, it's clear that she might have to get better at that. But the rest, also the second act of the film happens to drag itself out a bit, The film starts strong and it ends strong. The beginning has a lot of great intrigue and a lot of cool characters that they introduce, and the ending has the best action scenes of the film and has the team working together in a classic comic book style that you'd expect. But the second act does delve a bit too much into flashbacks and drags on a bit too much, which is probably why it's a film that's over 2 hours. But once you get past that, it's a fun comic book movie that I'd recommend to anyone who needs some fun things to watch now, especially if they've watched Extraction 100 times. So that's why I'm going to give The Old Guard a 7.75 out of 10. Not exactly an 8, but a bit higher than a 7.5. See you next time.